Welcome to Graham Kerr's Kitchen. It's really two programs in one. This is a series that appeals to your creative side. Food that is sumptuous stuff. How could that be? This is a program about people who want to eat healthy and reduce calories. Actually, it's about food with an aromatic quality that fills the nose. Oh, sure. But it's also about keeping my arteries clean by reducing fat. But it doesn't mean a thing if the food isn't rich and colorful. Maximize the flavor. Okay, but I must have healthy food that I can cook in minutes. I must minimize the risk. So welcome to Graham Kerr's Kitchen, where we get our heads together just for you. Well, welcome back once again. This really is two programs in one. I've got two completely different dishes from two new friends. Let me tell you how that actually took place. You know, every year there is a gathering of International Association of Culinary Professionals. From all over the world, they come together, and this year was in New Orleans. And every year, Julia Child has what is called the Julia Child Cookbook Award, which is given to people out of about 350 books, and there's 445 people who read them and all that stuff. But what was really neat was, apart from the fact that I won that award, was the fact that I had two people that I was up against that I just loved. I met both of them beforehand. One is Marie Simmons, who wrote a book called The Light Touch Cookbook, and the other one was called Our Food by Anita Hirsch. Now, those are two new friends that I made there. You know, what's really neat about a really good professional body, which this IACP is, if you compete with the idea of putting another one down, then everybody loses. But there's a competition that goes on there where everybody sort of collides and actually gains out of the competition because there's such good relationships. And so I just thought it would be really neat if you got to meet their food through me today, because I really want to honor them with terrific competitors in the nicest possible way. Okay, ready for it? Come and have a look. Well, actually, I love this because this is the whole concept of springboarding and seeing other people's ideas, and I just thrive on it. So let's have a look first of all. This is all about black beans, and if you look at, it's a black bean chili actually, and if you look at these are the black turtle beans, if you will, as they're called, and they're really neat things. If you've never cooked them, this is the way of doing it. It's a lovely dish. You could get these, if you really wanted to, in a can like this one, and you just see black beans with my hand over the maker's name. And you could do it this way, but frankly, you'd lose an awful lot of the texture and the enjoyment of doing it the right way. So let's do it the way she does. Put the beans in water overnight, at least 4 hours, but certainly overnight. And in the morning, you can come to, and you look at them, and they don't seem to have changed very much. Some of them will have split open a little bit and showing some white through. And they look rather purple now instead of black, but they will have plumped up a great deal. And this makes it possible to cook these a lot quicker than normal. Okay, so with this, you then take the juice, doesn't need to be saved for any reason at all. So just turn that out and just let those sort of drain for a moment there. We'll get to that in a second. First thing is that Marie uses just a little bit more oil than I do, and I tell you there's a reason for it, and that is that there's a lot of vegetables that get into this one. So using 1 tablespoonful of oil, popping it down a preheated pan so it's nice and hot, and we'll start into this, and a medium-sized onion, and just simply throw a knife through there and chop that up. This is going to cook for about 2 hours altogether. And so by that time, any irregularity in terms of the size of the piece of onion is going to really go away. But you don't want hunks and little bits and everything else. Just try and make it as neat as you can. And then drop that down into the pan. Sis! And we're off. That's the other half of the onion. Didn't think you need to see me do that twice. Green pepper, just pop that in, and that's half a cup of green pepper and a cup of carrots. All right, so those are all in and starting to go. 3 cloves of garlic, and moderate-sized cloves of garlic. Line them up like that. Give them a little belt, and it's kind of a fun way of doing it, and you don't have to struggle with getting things out of a garlic press. Just put it around. Again, that will melt out during the cooking process. And throw that in. Now, I never put the garlic in first unless it's for a stir fry, for the simple reason that if it hits the bottom, it can toast rather quickly and scorch, and it's only quite so bad as the smell of scorched garlic. So that is coming up beautifully now, and that's a sort of an aromatic bed for those vegetables. All right, now for the chili side of it. Which is actually hot. Isn't it strange that that should be? My father used to say, it's chilly in Peru, which of course it isn't, but I mean, it was just one of his things. We've got a couple of tablespoons full here of chili powder. I mean, you can imagine this is really giving this a bit of a zap, you know. Chili powder usually clogs up at the bottom somewhere, down line somewhere. Well, at least it proves that the manufacturer's got a good volume in it. There we go. 2 full tablespoons full. And on top of that, and I asked Marie this question, why then do you put on 2 teaspoonfuls of cumin seed? Because isn't chili powder a mixture of cumin seed and cayenne pepper? Which it is. But she said, well, I was tiddling with it, and bless her heart, I know what that's like when you tiddle with things. And I found that it just didn't have enough cumin in it. So I put in the 2 teaspoons of cumin, and then it didn't have enough cayenne pepper in it, so I put in half a teaspoonful of cayenne pepper. So now you know the secret, and that's the reason why there's that 2 lots in it. And 1 bay leaf, chuck that in as well, and start stirring it together. Now, into there at this time, you can also add a red pepper, or you can roast red pepper and put it in at the end, which I'm going to do both actually. Just simply stack them. I don't know if you've ever tried to take a pepper and chop it and find out that you are chopping it on the glossy side, you know, on the outside skin. If you do that, the chances are you could run the knife blade off it rather badly. And if you do that, you could cut yourself. And so I always cut from the inside just to make sure that don't do any damage. And it's a good idea for you. All right, there. Now we'll pop that in too, and you've got this terrific combination of those of the peppers and the onion and the garlic and that chili, and it just smells like you were in a wagon train somewhere, you know, and the sagebrush all around you. It's just frankly so American. It's really fabulous. All right, now. When you've got this on the go, you then simply add to that the beans that you've strained, and those are the ones been overnight. Now, if you're worried about gas, and some people are, and it's fair enough, then what you do is you put these beans, before you add it here, put them in cold water, bring them to the boil, and then throw the water out, and then pop the beans in like this. And that does away with most of it. That's called raffinose and strachinose. Those 2 things actually, enzymes which cause that to happen. All right, over the top, 5 cups of 5 cups of cold water in on the top. Put the lid on the top of there, and put the lid on top of there. Have you ever been to the state fairs and they do that with the piano at the top? And here is the one that has been cooked just for 60 minutes. Now you could say at that stage, uh-oh, it doesn't look so good. I mean, where's the black gone? And that's true, the black does go away at that stage. But at this point in time, after 60 minutes, that's not after the show's been on the air, but after it's been on for 60 minutes, you then take 4 Roma tomatoes, you see, and you chop them up in nice squares and pop it in there. Why, I can hear you say, and 1 teaspoonful of salt, by the way, why, I hear you say, do you wait and not put the tomatoes in with everything else? Well, if you did, there's something about the tomato and the acidity in the tomato and the salt that I'm adding now, which would stop those beans from being as tender as they are. In fact, you can almost cook them forever before they go tender. So it is a brilliantly accurate way that Marie handles beans in this way. So cook it for 1 hour, then pop these in and cook it for another 40 minutes, at which stage Isn't this terrific? It looks like this. Now, this is a lot happier. Do you see how it looks now? It's glossy and deep-colored. Doesn't that look wonderful? But that's not the end of it, because what she then does is freshen it up with zucchini yellow and green, finely chopped, well, 1/4 inch cubes, and just drop those in. One of those items of vegetable each, and a 1/2 cup of sweet corn, and dump that in too. Right? Now stir that in just 10 minutes before you're going to actually do the dish. Stir it all up together, and that's almost done. Gosh, look, I mean, you know, you want to dive into it right now. It's great. So, put the lid on that one, on the lid off that one, and put it, oh, it doesn't matter. And should be done. Let me show you the numbers on this one. Come through here. Actually, the numbers should be really good. It had that tablespoonful of oil, but just have a look at this. It goes down to 307 calories, which is really low for a chili. Look at that fat. There's only 3 grams of fat in the whole dish per serving. 59 of carbohydrate, and of course that's high because of the beans. 9% of calories from fat. I mean, that's terrific. And look at this, first prize. 0 cholesterol, and sodium in at 492, which is fine. Okay, now that's really a great combination. But what about Anita's? I'm going to hide those from you for a moment. This is a great dish. Okay, ready for some turkey balls done in a traditional fashion of a Jewish family? Okay, come and have a look. Don't you wish you could do that? Do you remember Bewitched, where she went, I can't do it, but it's really cute. And then the whole kitchen was cleaned up. Well, look at this. It's all set up for Anita's dish. Here we go. This is a cabbage, obviously, and cabbage could be a stuffed cabbage with pork, and not with pork for a Jewish family, but, you know, just stuffed with a beautiful meat mixture and with turkey, which goes very well. Well, this is one of making a sort of, that's brakas, but this is pseudo brakas. Now, here is a dish which is done, first of all, by taking some onion, and, you know, this is an interesting thing. If you've got a food processor, you know, sometimes I wonder, for example, with a knife, one would finely chop, you know, an onion like this one, and you have crunchy pieces within the meatball. If, on the other hand, you take this and put it into a small food processor, then something else starts to happen, and it emulsifies it to a degree. You know, I've got green pepper here as well, but this is what I tried it, and do you know, honestly, I don't know which I prefer. To either take it and do the fine chopping, and it takes quite a long time, and then to stick this on the top like this one. There's all kinds of processes like this, but just run it. And when it's chopped up, and you can see little pieces still left, that's kind of it, you know, and it's awfully hard to be able to say, well, I don't know, because it's such a convenience. What we're doing here is taking 1.5 pounds of ground turkey, and then taking this mixture and dropping, doesn't that look charming? It looks really almost edible, just like that. And dropping that down on top, putting a 1/4 cup of brown breadcrumbs, freshly made brown breadcrumbs, sticking that on the top too. And then 1 or 2 other intriguing ingredients. Now, if you don't have an egg substitute material, then you're going to have to use egg white here. It's a 1/4 cup. 1, 2, 3. Okay, 1/4 cup of egg white, and then a couple of teaspoonfuls of good quality French mustard. All right? And that's 1/2 cup of breadcrumbs, by the way. I could see that just by looking at it. And then this is something I really asked Anita. Anita, are you sure? 1/4 teaspoonful of garlic powder. It's the first time I ever used it. She said, it's what my family uses. And tradition is important, so we honor your tradition. And 1/4 teaspoonful of freshly milled black pepper. That's my tradition. Over the top. And you get stuck in. I mean, you know, slosh, and this, it takes a couple of minutes, but just fold it all in together. When you folded it all in together, use an ice cream scoop and just, you know, ladle it out like this. You see, this is the one we did with the larger pieces of the onion in just the hand chopping rather than doing it through the machine. And, oh, I don't know, I'm a great, you know, lover of texture in things, of crunch that it finds up in your mouth. So I think I really prefer that. Drop that down on the top. Now, what we've got here is I chopped the cabbage, and finally, and that cabbage is filled into a baking tray like that, and put a teaspoonful of caraway seed sprinkled in through the middle of it, just to sort of, you know, that Middle European flavor. And then a piece of foil over the top, and put it down nice and tightly, especially on the right-hand bottom side here. Really tighten that up. Then what you do when you've actually fitted and make sure that it fits nicely, you take it all off again, because there's a whole lot to be done before you put that on. I love doing other people's recipes. All right, so here on the top you anoint each of these with a chili sauce. Now this is a fresh, well, homemade, well, bottled, well, nick down the store and find a good quality one that you like. Then, and this is very important in the tradition of Anita's family, put some water in it, swirl it round so that you don't waste anything, and anoint it all over the top again. Okay, now whole fruit cranberry sauce. And once more, another anointing. If you've just tuned in, this is going to look a little odd to you. In fact, when we were rehearsing this earlier, our director, Mike Beck, said, I couldn't believe it. I mean, I was seeing this and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it either when I tried it, but that's when I looked through the whole book. This is the one I wanted to try. Something inside my head said, hey, she's got something here. And this is family dish, and this is family food. And now, when you think you've finished, oh no! It's low-sodium tomato sauce, and that is drizzled over the top too. And must admit, when I tasted it, I thought, oh gosh, what is this going to taste like? But there, now you get the foil, and you know it fits, so that's good. And then fit it round both sides, and bottom right-hand corner, make sure that it's well and truly tightened. Good. Oven set at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, 180 degrees centigrade. Give that 1.5 to 2 hours. Open this up, and I've cooled this down a bit so I can handle it, so don't worry about my hands. And nicely sealed on. The longer it cooks, apparently, according to Nita, the better. Just make a little slot like this and peel that back. Now, get a little sieve and then just pour the sauce that comes from that. As you can see, it's quite hot pot because I want to get cracking on it underneath, but you take some of that surplus sauce out of there. There's not much surplus sauce in there. It does have a little bit of surplus sauce to show you what it looks like. And here, then just you take a little bit of arrowroot and make that little arrowroot glaze here, and just stir that around and pop that down into the pot. Okay, and stir that about. At the same time, whizzing over to this one, this is to finish off the soup, and pour a little bit of the arrowroot glaze in here too. Stir it round. This is the soup, you remember, that we did before. Drop that down into there. Stir that about. Look at that now. Now, but you can add just a little touch of roasted pimento to get a little bit of color onto the top, and a tablespoonful of jalapeno of that. And a quarter of a cup of cilantro, and pop that in. And now look at the colors, they're absolutely radiant. All right, so pull this back and look at that. Look what it looks like. Isn't that a feast? And you get 3 of those each. More magic? Okay, I'll show you what this looks like just in 1 second. Look at that, magic, 2 in 1 show. Okay, those are the turkey balls on this side with a little horseradish and nicely glazed and glistening. And here is the black bean chili with saffron rice on the side. It just looks terrific. Okay, come through. Oh, smell gorgeous. Look at that. Look at those beautiful colors and everything great. Okay, let's have a look, first of all, at Anita's numbers. 294 calories, that's good total calories. 5 grams of fat, which is absolutely fabulous, which translates into 15% of calories from fat. Cholesterol is just a third of the day, so that's 109. Right down on sodium, because all of the products that's used were low in sodium and very specified for that reason. Okay, I'm just a little bit of this first of all. Look how glossy that is. Oh, I like the way that cilantro works in that. And that jalapeno, it gets you just about here. But this turkey meatball, the crew here are just waiting to dive in. Oh, it is so good. And although this was not traditional for her, she allowed me to put a little horseradish on the side. Oh, and that clears the sort of nasal passages, and it's so rich looking, and yet so down, 15% is just great. So don't forget, our food, published by Doubleday, this one here, and The Light Touch, published by Chapters. Do get them. They're new friends, and I hope they'll be new friends of yours as well. You know, it's really special for me to be able to be involved with fellow professionals. And of course, I especially like being involved in the restaurant business because that's where I was brought up. You know, so I was 8 years of age when I went back in with my dad took me through to the chef in the kitchen and said, "Here, do something with him." Thank goodness he didn't put a lemon in my mouth and roast me. What he did, he started to teach me to cook, and I enjoyed being amongst professional chefs all my life. Now, just recently, we've been saying something with the National Restaurant Association in the United States. Couldn't we have a menu which describes for people, you know, who watch this program, and people like me and people like Trina, who like to look through a menu and decide on, you know, what am I going to eat? Because I'm, you know, on this very special regime and I want to, you know, low fat or whatever it is. Well, so we came up with something called Menu 2. I'd like you to have a look at it, and please write to me if you like the idea of it being done for you. Let's take black bean chili, just like we've been doing here. Say it's $3.50 a portion, and say here that we're looking at turkey balls in cranberry sauce, and that was $10.50 a portion. Well, now, the right-hand side of my brain is very much involved with food and my memory of food and everything else like that. So I looked at black bean chili, and I remember Marie Simmons' plate. Like, oh, wow, yeah, I'd like to eat that. I look at the price, $3.50. I think I could afford that because my left-hand brain is very analytical. So it's looking at the price, whilst my right-hand brain is looking at the dish that I want to select. Okay, well, what if, therefore, we were to put calories on there? Do you know, somehow the left-hand brain, which would look at calories, just doesn't take to this because it wants to celebrate its eating out. It doesn't want to medicate, you know. But what if there was a second menu where the waiter came along or waitress came along and said, here we have a second menu which has nutritional values on it, if anybody wants to look at them. Now at that time you say, well, yeah, I'd be interested in that. Say you've got a budget for 30 grams of fat when you're going to eat out. That's fair enough. It's half the day's supply of fat for most people. So you look, black bean chili, $3.50. And you look along here, a little line of numbers, and there it would have fat. 3 grams of fat, and say I follow that with the turkey balls and the cranberry sauce, 5 grams of fat, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hey, 8 grams of fat, I could afford to be able to have a nifty kind of dessert in order to be able to get through with 30 grams. What do you think? If you think it would be nice to have a menu number 2, please drop me a line, because we're going to work on this with National Restaurant Association and chefs all over the country to be able to have a menu that isn't a minefield without a map, which is really what it's like when you just don't know what's in it for you. Well, good. Well, once again, thanks so much for being with me. Enjoy. Well, there we are. Couple of new friends, couple of new dishes, and remember, that IACP statement. IACP stands for the International Association of Culinary Professionals. And wherever you see those initials, I think you could pretty well assure yourself of the fact you're going to meet some nice people. Until next time, God bless.